Robert Bigelow.
Yes, we talked about him last night.
Yeah, so I know what I saw. Now your audience knows a little bit about my history, so you'll have a reference when I tell you this. When I finished, I know what I saw. And it was based on that event I did at the National Press Club, which was pretty credible civilian effort at the time. It was like, you know, you have all these retired military and government officials and pilots and FAA officials from 7 countries. We had Chile, we had Iran, France, Belgium, England, Peru. It was incredible. It was incredible listening to these like officials from all these, you know, it was credible. It was a pretty credible civilian effort to get the stuff out. The film comes out and I get an email from, which I showed you last night. I get an email from Robert Bigelow. He's in aerospace. He's designing these. He's a billionaire. He lives in Nevada, and he has contracts with the United States Air Force dating back God knows how long, decades, where any reports, any pilot reports, things of that nature of UFOs all goes to Robert Bigelow's. You know, he had like a think tank, NIDS, and his organization. It was like, how could this civilian like be getting a contract with the government on UFO? What? You know? And he was working at one point with Tesla, Elon Musk, with I guess he was trying to use Elon Musk's rockets to put his habitable inflatable zones up into space because they're lightweight.
Oh, really?
Anyway, I'm not sure whatever happened with that effort, but in any case, he's a high profile guy. He was on 60 Minutes. So he sends me an email, or his secretary. Mr. Bigelow has a message he wants to pass along. He watched your film, I Know What I Saw, and he wants to congratulate you on a job well done. And I was like, damn, Bigelow reached out to me? Like, Robert Bigelow. So I emailed back, thank you so much. Would he be willing to get together for, you know, dinner or lunch or something? And yes. So I was like, well, I'm going to go meet Bigelow. Why not? Right? I mean, the guy is like, he's gotten all the contracts. Now, what was really funny was, I didn't realize this till later, Robert Bigelow at the time was actually, and I'm convinced of this, he was fishing to see what my next move was going to be. He wanted to know what I was up to, because he was asking me like, oh, what's your next thing? You know, maybe I'd finance it. You know, he just wanted to know. He wasn't going to finance anything I wanted to do. He just wanted to know, and I'm pretty sure of that. But I said to him at one point, I was like, well, you know, whose side are you on? Because every case that I'm looking into, particularly the case of the United States and international cases too, I get people saying, oh, well, Bigelow's organization came and took all that evidence. And I kept hearing that. It's like, so what are you doing with all this evidence and stuff? Anyway, he says, James, do you... Before I say this, I'm just going to say that this guy, I guess, legitimately is in a position to know a lot more than I know. Okay. Particularly at that time. He had the government contracts. He had the contacts. He had the intellectual heavyweights in the scientific community all working for him. This guy definitely knows a lot. No question. And so he says, James, do you understand the implications of disclosure? And I said, I'm not really giving it too much thought. Why? He goes,
meaning the implications of disclosure.
If this story really came out.
Okay.
So I was like, and to be honest with you, yeah, sure. I guess I thought about it. I mean, it didn't seem like that big of a deal to me. We're not alone. Great. You know what I mean?
Right. Thinking about it every day.
I don't think anybody just thinks that we're alone in the universe anymore anyway, but
right.
You're coming here. He said, I just need to really emphasize this to everybody out there so you understand what I'm telling you. I'm not saying I believe what I'm about to tell you, okay? I need to see more evidence. I'm not saying I don't believe it,
right?
But I don't just believe something because someone told me that. I need to see supporting evidence. I need to hear testimony. I need a lot more. what's taken me as long as it has with all the other cases that I investigate. I don't just like believe a case. Okay, so Robert Bigelow said to me, they're walking among us. I said, what do you mean they're walking among us? He said, they're walking among us. They live right here, kind of thing. So again, I'm looking at him going, I need to see, and I'd like to see some proof of that.
Right.
But then he said, we've done studies. We've done extensive studies on the impacts of this story would have on the general population globally. And I said,
Interesting.
Okay. Well, like what kind of studies? He goes, well, you take Iran-Contra and you take all these other like super big scandals and you multiply those, every one of them that's ever happened in the history of mankind, in modern history, and then you multiply that by 1 million. And that's the impact, according to our studies, that this reality would have on the general public. He said the economy would collapse, organized religion would collapse. And he just rattled off all that. Like, again, I'm not saying that I believe this. I'm just telling you what he said to me.
How could you possibly conduct a study on that? I could see how you could gather, you could collect data on individuals, but how could you possibly do a study on an entire civilization or a large group of people? Like, how would you do that?
That's what he told me. That's what he told me. I mean, look, it would have an impact. There's no question it would have an impact. And it probably would affect religion, right? Because
why am I going to work? Why the fuck am I paying taxes? Why am
right? You know? And it's like, I remember having this conversation with the sixth man to walk on the moon, Edgar Mitchell, and he goes, you know, if this story is just part of the bigger picture, let it out. People should know about it. People should be okay. He goes, you know, you still have to take out the garbage. You still got to pay your mortgage or your rent. You know, that was kind of funny. Every time I take the garbage out, I think, like, you know, I believe we're not alone in the universe and it's being covered up from us, but I still got to take my garbage out.
Imagine the kind of power you must feel holding on to that information that would, you're holding something that could potentially alter humankind.
Yes.
Alter the mindset of every one of our species on Earth.
Yeah.
And that could probably change the trajectory of where we go, how we evolve, et cetera. Like, if you hold on to that information, how does that affect your ego?
I literally just interviewed a guy. I got goosebumps on my arms talking about this because it's just crazy, because I believe it. Who drove a being, call it a creature or being, or they called it kind of ET, on that UFO crash case in Varginha, Brazil in 1996. And I said to him, you have a level of confirmation that only a handful of people on this planet have. What does that feel like? Because I wanted to know. You know, this guy was serious as a heart attack. And he was not out there trying to get an interview with anybody. We were chased him down for years.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like all the money in the world of never coming forward. And the stars lined up and we had like a 36-hour window where we managed to get this guy on camera. But I asked him that question. You have a level of confirmation. You know definitively. You drove this thing around. What does that feel like? And he responded like it was more of a burden than anything else.
Mm.
That it's actually kind of ruined his life. The level of secrecy. He gets phone calls from the base that ask him like, hey, how you doing? How's your family doing? You guys having a good time? Did you move yet, or are you still in the same spot?
Right.
Yeah, you're still in the same spot. Great. Well, I'm glad your family's doing good. I'm glad you're doing good. You know, any change of plans, you know, let us know. Those kind of calls he gets all the time.